Hey everybody, I'm Kai Ryssdal. Welcome back to Make Me Smart, where we make today make sense. Friday, 21 February. Today,
That's right. Hey everybody, I'm Amy Scott. I'm in for Kimberly Adams today. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're on the YouTube live stream or listening to the podcast, this is Economics on Tap, our weekly happy hour episode. We're so happy to have you here. We'll do a little news and then play a game. But first, I guess we should talk drinks. Kai, what you got today?
I am
Look at
having
my
what is
beer.
becoming my go-to, which is a little troubling because it's a little high ABV. It's the Modern Times Dinosaur World, 8% ABV out of Modern Times
Ooh.
Brewery down in San Diego. Quite good, quite tasty. But I'll tell you what, I have like two of these and it's lights out. So I'm going to have one and then take a break and then have one later. And then it's Friday night, so I get to go to sleep.
Yeah,
Nice life, Guy.
nice.
Nice life.
That
Oh
does
my
sound like a
goodness.
nice Friday night. Well, mine's, oh God, I'm just pouring it on my laptop. Mine is 6.1%.
There you go.
So, but I probably can handle a little less than you. So mine is, it's a Thirst Down. This is like the Ravens football team tribute beer from
Ah,
Union Craft Brewing here in Baltimore. We had this left over from our Super Bowl watch party, which, we drank our team that
there
should
you
have been
go.
there.
Let's check the chat here. So Jim Sanders having a Maker's Mark cask strength batch 23-06, 109.5 proof neat. Wow, that's
Ooh,
something.
that's fancy.
Mike Marsh is having a Firestone Walker 805 blonde ale. There's a Beaujolais in Cleveland from Allison Ritley. Robert Bittner says it's crossword puzzle Kai, today's Washington Post. So I'm going to have to get today's Washington Post, I guess. I don't know
Wait,
what that means.
what? Does that mean you're like
I
in it?
don't I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
I was in the LA Times crossword puzzle like a month or two ago. It always
Oh
seemed to make sense to
man.
me, right? Very handy, three letters, K can be useful sometimes, you
That's
know.
like goals, life goals, Kai. You have arrived. I've always
Oh, this is
been
it. I've
fond
made
of
it
you,
now.
but
I
now,
mean,
yeah, now I'm like, oh my
oh,
God, you're so
oh,
cool. I can't
oh
wait
my
to tell my
God.
mom.
Oh my
Um,
God. Oh
Jack and
man.
Coke, a blend of green teas. That's great.
Stephanie Moore Fuller, blended green cheese. Zoomology IPA from Stone. Zoomology, what is that? I'm a big Stone guy, our Collier. I'm gonna have to go look that one up. All right, shall we?
Oh
Let's do
yeah,
some news.
let's do it.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, me? Okay. Yeah, so there's so much to talk about, so much going
There is
on.
so much to talk about.
It's like, how do you even begin? But
Yeah.
one thing I've been seeing a lot in my Instagram feed, I guess I follow a lot of national parks, but I've been
Mm-hmm.
seeing the impact on the federal workers who have been fired, who were like living their dream in these jobs as park
Yeah.
rangers. And it was really heartbreaking because I mean, who among us wouldn't have wanted to be a park ranger at some point in our lives?
Totally.
But you're starting to see the impact. So a couple of parks have announced they're scaling back already. Fluorescent Fossil Beds National Monument, which is in my home state of Colorado, said this week that starting Monday, it's going to be closed Mondays and Tuesdays due to a lack of staffing. Saguaro National Park in Arizona announced its visitor center will be closed on Mondays until further notice. The New York Times reports that tours were canceled at Carlsbad Caverns. So you're starting to see this real impact. In case you missed it, at least 1,000 permanent National Park Service employees were abruptly fired
Mm-hmm.
on Valentine's Day, and another 3,000 or so from the U.S. Forest Service. Um, but there's also confusion about thousands more seasonal workers. And I saw in the LA Times that last month, thousands of prospective seasonal employees got an email saying that their job offers had been rescinded. But then
Yep.
this week, the Department of Interior appeared to reverse that, saying the agency may hire as many as 7,700 seasonal employees, which would actually be a large increase. And I think to me, it speaks of a couple things. One is that there's been this very public backlash. It just shows how popular the parks are. People just love them. They've seen a huge increase in visits. And there's been this kind of, I think, coordinated social media campaign, really. Those Instagram posts I was
Oh
talking
yeah.
about, people coming,
Yeah.
posting online to talk about how this is hitting them. And it's really unpopular. but also it seems like this does nothing for the permanent employees, and it's just so hard to know every day, like, is this going to stick? Is it not? And so all these people are just in a state of uncertainty. And I think, if this sticks this summer, when people start going on their family road trips, you're going to start to see a real impact and consternation about what happens when you don't get the services that you want, like a toilet that's working or even open, or the
Totally.
trash gets picked up, right?
Totally. I think that's
Yeah.
exactly right. So there's the larger impact on the American public of all these cuts, and then there's the very micro impact of what it means for these people. And regular listeners to this podcast will know that I have some issues with the podcast that the New York Times does called The Daily, the host thereof
Mm.
specifically. Um, but they had an episode this week at some point which was all audio, and it was all about the power of audio, actually. These
Mm.
laid off and fired, not laid off, these fired government workers telling their stories about what had happened and why and what it means to them and all of that. And it's gutting. It's truly, truly gutting, you know?
It is,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, I'm here in Baltimore, Maryland, which is some people wrongly think is a suburb of DC, but our economy here depends
yeah,
heavily on federal employment, and so yeah, you can barely, walk outside without finding someone who's
yep,
been impacted.
totally,
If not
totally.
directly, they have a lot of uncertainty, which, yeah, it's just the
Yep,
pain is
yeah,
significant.
yeah. And it's well, we all know it's going to get worse, I guess is the only thing I was going to say. It's going to get worse. There's more coming because there's a reckless disregard, truly, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's mine, and here's what I want all y'all to do. When you get done with this podcast, go to Wikipedia and look up a Supreme Court case called Humphrey's Executor, right? Humphrey's Executor. Look it up, 1935, in which the Supreme Court ruled that the President of the United States does not have the power, absent malfeasance or inattention to duty, the President does not have the power to fire the heads of independent agencies. That case is in the news because the president has tried to fire, well, many heads of agencies, but one specifically, the Office of the Special Counsel, Hampton Dellinger, who is not like the special counsel for the whole thing. He's just like the place that complaints and malfeasance about wrongdoers inside the government, whistleblowers, go to be prosecuted. The president tried to fire him. He sued. A district court said, no, 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 you can't do that. And the Trump administration appealed to the Supreme Court directly. Supreme Court, just like half an hour ago, like 3 o'clock LA time, said, "Yeah, we're not going to weigh in this one now. It's going to go back to the Supreme. It's going to go back to the district court, and they're going to have it out. This will eventually get back to the Supreme Court, right? And Hampton's executor will be, sorry, Humphrey's executor will be um, in the balance, and there are already 2 or 3 votes to overturn it. But the reason I bring it up, of course, is that well, in my humble opinion, the most important independent agency of the federal government right now is the Federal Reserve. And what happens if the Supreme Court says, yeah, yeah, no, you can totally fire Jay Powell? What do you suppose happens? Nothing good happens.
No.
So that's that. That's that. So it's going back to the
Yeah.
district court. There will be a hearing or something this week or this coming week. Um, but the defenestration of common sense and reason in the federal government takes another step forward, I suppose. That's it. That's what I got. That's my thing.
Yeah, and I saw that the House committee that is going to be, investigating the Fed basically scheduled its first hearing. So that's
Oh,
another
that ought to be good.
fun thing that I know Kai is going to
That
talk
ought to be
about
good.
when
Oh my
when it
God.
happens.
Yeah. And this
Uh,
of course on top of the president of the United States saying he wants to audit Fort Knox to see if the gold is there. Spoiler alert, the gold is there. It also gets audited every year. And there's a push to audit the Fed. The Fed gets audited every year.
yeah.
I don't have the energy for this.
We have to spend so much time fact checking these ridiculous statements. And I know that it's part of the point, right? It's like the flood the zone cognitive overload kind of situation, but it is ridiculous that you just had to say Fort Knox is audited every
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
You know,
It's interesting.
like
So
we could be
Nancy
doing
Fargali and I,
so much more with our
so much
time.
more. Nancy Fargali and I, Nancy is the executive producer of Marketplace, the radio show that I do on the side when I'm not doing this podcast. And she
On
and
the
I, every
side.
day now for the last like 3 weeks, have when we do a morning check-in at 5:30, 6 o'clock ish LA time to talk about the day's show. And we've been sort of trying to figure out what the vibe is. What's the macroeconomic vibe? What's not what's the economic news of the day, right? Not
Hmm.
what's leading economic indicators, what's inflation, what's what, but what's the thing that we can do to make our listeners make our listeners understand this one thing about all the uncertainty and craziness that's out there. And it's really hard because you don't want to go, it's all terrible and doom and gloom. But on the other hand, things are happening that are going to break this economy. You know?
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. I mean,
It's wild.
right. And it's that idea of picking a few things that you can really shed light on,
Right. That's exactly it.
focusing on that and letting the noise or letting other people handle some of the
Uh,
other things. And
right.
it's hard to pick and choose these days, I think, because so much
Right.
of it
And
is significant.
right. And the saving grace of Marketplace, for a long time when I first got this job, I was like, only half an hour? Let's do an hour. Let's make the show an hour. But when you think about it, our saving grace is number one, we have a finite amount of time and we have to stay in our lane. Business, economics, raising the economic intelligence of the country. That's what saves us from having to do all the other stuff. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's true.
news done, break coming, then we're back.
Good. I was worried I missed a line like I usually do when I'm
Nah,
here.
it's all good. It's all good. This one's easy.
Okay, now it's time. I did it for some half full, half empty, and our very own Drew Jostad is here to host. Take it away, Drew.
I'm going to set up this first one by noting that in Germany, works of art are protected more strongly by intellectual property law than consumer
Oh
products.
my lordy B, I know what you're doing.
Uh-oh, okay.
Which gets me to Birkenstock arguing in court that their shoes are copyright protected works of applied art. Are you half full or half empty on that argument?
You are just trolling me with this. Seriously, someone knows how I feel about Birkenstocks, and they're like, let's see if we can get a reaction from Amy. Oh my God, I hate Birkenstocks so much. I'm on the record about that here. Here on this show, Kai,
I'm
probably
with
when
you.
you were
You,
gone.
you will find no argument from me, sister. No way. I'm in.
Wait, works of what kind of art? Applied art?
Applied art, yes.
Yeah.
Applied art.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, well, I guess that gets into like fashion, questions about fashion and fashion as art. I'm willing to go there
Yeah,
with like
I
high
know.
fashion, but not with
No,
Birkenstocks.
not with
I'm
Birkenstocks.
sorry,
Although I will
Germany. I
tell
love
you,
you.
two of my 4 children are Birkenstocks devotees, and I'm like, no, man, how do you wear those things? Forget it. Anyway,
Yeah, I just
Drew, what
can't.
else?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah, so
point
I'm
out that
empty.
the Federal Court of Justice did rule against the argument this
Yes.
week.
Okay,
Yes.
I actually want to read that case. I'm sure it's pretty interesting. I know I'm getting a lot of hate on the chat. They are very comfortable.
I know
Okay.
there's a lot of guys. Yeah, look at this. Need to call Kai out for dissing the Birkenstocks. Boo, James Daly. Well, thanks for coming to the
All
pod,
right.
James.
So this month, Coca-Cola Company is entering the prebiotic soda market with a product called
Oh my
Simply
God.
Pop. Are you half
Oh
full
my
or half
God.
empty on Gut
Oh,
Pop?
wow.
So,
Gut pop.
do you say that like you know it, Amy? No?
Well, I do have some poppy in my kitchen right now. I don't actually understand the gut part of it, the prebiotic part. Maybe Drew, you can fill us in on this, but it's like they're trying to make pop. Okay, I'm gonna go off on a little segue here. I have always called it pop. Sorry.
Oh, well, that's like a
So
regional
the
thing, right? It depends
return
on where
of
you're from.
yeah. And my kids and my husband make fun of me relentlessly for calling it
Mm-hmm.
pop instead of soda
Rightly
because
so,
now
by
I
the
live
way.
on the East
Rightly
Coast.
so.
No,
There you go.
I disagree. But anyway, so I love that there's this new can of something called Poppy because it's bringing back pop, and I can say, "Hey kids, can I have a pop or whatever?" So, and wait, what are they calling this? Gut pop?
Well, they own like, like Simply Orange, like the orange
Oh,
juice. So this
okay.
one is Simply Pop.
Oh, but they're calling it pop. So I'm gonna say I'm half full because of that alone. I don't know about this pre and postbiotic stuff, um but
Yeah.
The prebiotic thing
I'm
is
all for
just
pop.
like dietary fiber, basically. It's like a
Yeah,
Oh,
soda
okay.
pop that's got
supplement
dietary
that they
fiber in
add
it.
to
Cut
it.
it
Yeah.
out.
Well, and it's also supposed to
Come
be
on.
lower sugar, right? I think.
Yes. Yes.
I haven't fully absorbed the marketing on this yet, clearly.
I'm gonna have to look into it because I know nothing about it, so I'm gonna pass on this one. Drew, move on.
Next,
Okay.
next time we're on the show
Yeah.
together,
All
that'll
right.
be our
Okay.
drink. Will be
Yeah. Fair
prebiotic
enough. All right.
pop.
Okay. All right. Deal. Jesus.
All right. From a recent Harris poll, 36% of Americans are looking for ways to opt out of the economy this
I
year.
saw this. I saw this. So people are shopping now increasingly according to their political beliefs, which, fine, whatever. But there's this whole slice of people, 30 whatever it is percent that you said, that want to opt out of the economy. And I don't know how that works. How do you do that?
Sounds like a half
I don't
empty.
know. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
well,
just confused.
there's this whole like buy nothing on February 28th movement. And then there's just
Yeah,
the like
for a day,
spend
that's fine, right?
less.
But
That's a
yeah, I
day,
guess. I
right?
don't know. Right,
Yeah, but
right.
I have seen sort of like the savings, financial uh stability kind of argument as well to like just try to
Oh,
spend
sure.
less
I
this
mean,
year,
which we totally, as a nation, we should, right? We have to increase our
Yeah,
domestic savings rate for sure. Totally.
yeah. But yeah,
Hmm.
opting out of the economy entirely. Well, as you and I know, 70% of the economy is consumer spending.
Right.
So, um, a
So,
lot of that is essentials, and I don't think people are saying they're not going to buy essentials, but maybe just not the extra stuff.
well, right. But so look, when people later on today or tomorrow morning on the podcast while they're walking the dog or whatever, listen to today's marketplace, you will hear Sudeep Reddy at the top of the program. I asked both he and Heather Long, what's the one thing they're keeping an eye on? And Sudeep said business investment. Heather said consumers and consumer spending. And as consumer spending, if consumer spending starts to slow, that will be a bad thing for the macro economy. Now, look, some people opting out of the economy, I don't know how realistic that is, but it's a delicate dance. It is a very delicate dance, you
But
know.
look, I can see why people are fed up and want to
Oh, sure,
show it with their money because
sure.
there's money talks, right? And in this current situation, it seems like
Hmm.
nothing else does. So I guess
Amen.
I'm half full on people
Yeah, I'll go with
exercising
that.
some muscle where they have it.
Fair, fair.
All right. Moving on with season 3 coming out to streaming soon. Are you half full or half empty on the White Lotus effect on tourism?
So I watch like some of so what happens in the evenings around here is that I try to find something to keep, around here being my house. I try to find something to keep myself busy. I go to the garage and I do my little workout and mobility. I do the laundry, whatever. My wife, her way of winding down and that's my way of winding down. Her way of winding down is plopping herself down on the couch and watching a little show. And she got into White Lotus, and so I watched a couple with her, trying to, do that thing that you do when you're married. And I was like, what is this? Sorry, don't quote me. And I was like, what
Solidarity. Yeah.
is the yeah, amen, brother. And I was like, what is this show? And I couldn't, and I tuned out. And now I still can't because it's gotten, as near as I can tell from reading the socials, it's gotten weirder. I don't know. But
Ooh, no
half empty
spoilers,
either
no
way. No
Um,
spoilers. I
okay,
look.
okay, good. Yeah,
I have no knowledge. It's all just socials. That's it.
yeah. So I didn't hear the story. I know we had a story about the White Lotus effect, right? Does that mean just
Mm-hmm.
more
Mm-hmm.
tourism in Thailand
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I
in
think probably
Hawaii
right.
or
Yeah.
wherever the other one was,
Right.
Sicily, I think. Um, hmm. Well, if the locals
Do
don't
you
like
watch?
it,
Have
I'm with them.
you've watched, right? You've
Oh,
watched?
yes. I'm a huge
Oh.
Mike White fan. He's the creator. He is so darkly
Um.
funny and I'm a fan for sure. So I'm
All right.
very full on White Lotus, but if places are getting overrun, but they make it look so spectacular. Except for the part where people die. Like, I could
Oh, except
do
for that
without
little
that
part,
on my
that
next
one little thing.
vacation. That's not really a spoiler.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh
What
my
about
goodness.
you,
All right.
Drew? Have you watched it?
No, I have
Mm,
not.
really? Oh my God, I'm not used to being
No.
the only one in the know about something. I feel very uncomfortable.
You know,
But apparently,
Amy
yeah,
Scott,
it was
influencer. Yeah.
huge blow. It really blows up the local tourism wherever they
Mm-hmm.
have a show,
Mm-hmm.
wherever they have a season
Yeah,
of that.
Yeah,
that
totally.
makes sense. They should do one
Totally.
about
All right. Are
Baltimore.
we well, right? Yeah, totally.
We could
Are we
use
on the
some
poll here?
tourist dollars.
We
Mr.
are
Oh yeah,
Judge
the
moving on
Dan.
to
poll.
the poll. We are moving on to
All
the
right, we are
poll.
at the poll. What do you got?
Are you half full or half empty on Amazon MGM Studios taking over creative control
Oh
of the
my
James
God.
Bond franchise?
Well, so look, I'm going to assume, poll notwithstanding, that my guess is the Venn diagram of people who listen to Marketplace and people who listen to this podcast is like a circle, right? So people will know already, if they listen to yesterday's Marketplace, how I feel about this. The family of Albert R. Broccoli, who his children now, his daughter and his stepson, have, through a whole long convoluted thing, sold the creative control rights of the James Bond franchise to Amazon MGM Studios, which means that Jeff Bezos now gets to decide, number one, who plays James Bond, number two, who writes the script, and number three, when the movies get made. I don't need to go into the details of the deal, but those are the three salient parts. James Bond is honestly, I mean, kind of a horrible human being, right? Misogynist, sexist, take your pick, right? The movies are trite and boring and what have you. But honestly, except for like the whole Roger Moore era in the 70s, they're kind of fun to watch. And I'm a big Sean Connery and most importantly, Daniel Craig fan. But if and when Jeff Bezos casts himself as James Bond, which you can totally see because I know everybody listening to this podcast has seen the picture of Bezos at Sun Valley, that big media conference, walking around the corner in the sunlight with his vest on and his short sleeve shirt and his biceps that are like guns, right? You're like, come on, man. You know he sees himself as James Bond. And I think it's going to happen. So I will preempt the poll by saying
I just threw
I
up
am
a little
half
bit.
empty. Oh my God.
Have they
So
done the
that's
poll
where I'm
yet?
at.
I love that.
Go ahead, weigh in. Nobody,
I
it
did
doesn't
not
matter.
see it going
155
there.
votes in. Sorry.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
have
should we
thoughts.
well, I can never remember. Do we reveal our feelings about this? Well, you already did. I'm half
We're not
empty
supposed to, but I
because
already did. Well,
Amazon doesn't
you
need to
and
have everything.
right. Amazon doesn't need to have everything. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And also the poll, half empty on Amazon taking over James Bond franchise, 90%, half full, 9%. I don't know
Wow.
what the other 1%er you're doing. Please try to keep up. This is a poll for you. I'm just saying. All right. Sorry. Right now, Marissa and Courtney are like, what are you doing? Oh,
I'm
my
impressed with your
God.
quick math, though, Kai. There's 1%
Well,
that didn't vote. What?
it's
Undecided.
and I am not, as I think I've said before on this podcast, I am not the math parent in my household. Like when math comes up,
Oh.
Liv comes to me and she says, "Dad, where's mom?" And I'm like, "Sweetie, I can help you." And she says, "Dad, come on,
She's like,
Dad,
it's math. Oh.
it's math, Dad. It's math."
More of a humanities guy.
Oh my
That's
God!
all
All
right.
right, we are done. That is a week that is in the books. My goodness. Rima Crace is back with me on Monday. Amy Scott, I guess, gets a day off. Kimberly is, I don't even know where. Comments, questions, suggestions, all of that. You know what to do. Email is makemesmart@marketplace.org. Voicemail comes to us 508-827-6278. 508 UB, and I'm spelling this out for you, Amy Scott, because you're the first one who did this. The letter U, the letter B, SMART.
No
That's
why.
where we are.
No why. Make Me Smart is produced by Courtney Berg-Seeker. Our intern is Zoha Mullick. Today's episode was engineered by Charlton Thorpe.
Ellie McCune, Jamila Huxtable, and Annette Trinette. I'm going to start that again. Ellie McCune, Jamila Huxtable. I'm going to start that again one more time because we got the time and the music. Friday game, Emily McCune, Jamila Huxtable, and Antoinette Brock. do the game. Oh, we don't have the music. Rick Cabrera is our senior producer. Bridget Bonner is the director of podcast. Francesca Levy is the executive director of digital and on demand. I only had one beer, I swear.
8.8 ABV?
8.0. Hello.